Hey guys, this is Jamie. So today I want to talk about one of my favorite manga of all time, and it's Nana. And I pretty much started reading it when I was around 12, maybe 11. So it's been with me for like 20 years. And personally, I do prefer Paradise Kiss, but I still love Nana a lot, and this is why the subject is quite dear to me. And in general, I read all the how I could back in the day, and now they're translating a bit more. Like there's some in Spanish, which aren't translated in English and stuff like that. So I still need to catch up on like those old ones that she did in the 80s. But basically, what I wanted to talk about was the fact that I find it interesting that people tend to twist sort of Nana's and Hachi's relationship into something, I guess, more friendly when, like, back when it was getting published, everyone was kind of taking it as a will they, won't they, rather than taking it as something more platonic. So, yeah, so I guess let's go back to my teenage years. Um, so, this is a more of a me looking back, me thinking about how the sort of how people reacted to it. So I remember back in the day, you'd go on Wikipedia and you would have Nana nearly like 90% of the time. It would be listed as shoujo. I'm sorry if I'm butchering. Basically, girls' love, and it was pretty much taken sort of at value as a sort of soft lesbian bisexual sort of couple, and no one really expected them to sort of end up together, or if they would, like maybe not, maybe it would be like a tragic more Yuri. But the consensus was that this is an LGBT manga following sort of the steps of Paradise Kiss, which has a trans woman character and has a few bisexual characters throughout. So it's quite weird to me to see someone sort of take Nana, which was at the time quite revolutionary for sort of pushing a bit more of a serious and in-depth queer relationship into like manga as well. Like obviously now we have certain manga which deal with more realistic depiction of gay relationships or lesbian relationships. But back in the day, it was pretty much just like for Yuri, it was like sure there was Utena and Sailor Moon, but they were pretty much like the only ones aside like Strawberry Panic or usual sort of fan servicey ones. And when it came to obviously yaoi and boys love, it was even more scarce. And we're talking like 20 years ago. So this was like way before obviously Yuri on Ice, way before Free was queer baiting. And it's very bizarre sort of to see people erase the queer impacts that Nana had at the time, because I remember I had a friend in high school, middle school, who was a lesbian, and she was very obsessed with Nana. And I remember when one of the last published chapters came out, and they kind of have an intimate ish moment, and she was like over the moon of it, and we were discussing it, and it's just bizarre to see sort of people erase that. And I understand that obviously now we live in in an era of censorship. Obviously we have most of the Anglosphere, which dominates, the media and the internet, sort of try to erase queer identities. And there are certain pieces of media like, I don't know, like Sex and the City is still like a gay cult classic. Golden Girls, which don't necessarily have to be sort of have the main characters or the sort of in your face, but Nana was kind of played with that. And I wouldn't say it was queer baiting, because it's quite explicitly sort of it talks between them like what they feel and their confusion about it. and it helped a lot of queer women or queer people sort of come to terms with their sexuality. And it is a very crucial piece of literature, in my opinion. So it's quite weird to see people sort of say, oh, why are you twisting friendship into something sexual? When in reality is, sure, they do talk about like having sex or like how would it be, but at the end of the day, not every relationship is sexual, and the relationship itself doesn't have to be sexual. Because in that way, you have to say that all relationships are sexual, and that's not the case. So that kind of really grinds my gears. And I do understand that right now we're like in this era of like clean makeup, trad wife bullshit. So obviously, people try to sort of erase and sort of simplify things into this cookie cutter Disney mold, you know? Where sort of everyone has to be like sexless, pure, and this very sort of squeaky clean version of a world that doesn't really exist, but people are trying to do. And at the same time, those people are the ones like, you know, dragging across there some Arizona stadium for like Charlie Kirk's funeral or whatever. So it's weird to see sort of a piece of media just be twisted like that. And it was just, I remember like when it was being published and people would translate it like a week later and it would be flooded online. So it's very kind of sad to see something so kind of blatantly queer, or like people would ship whoever, people would write fan fiction, people would speculate, people would write their own endings, and obviously the hiatus is the thing that keeps everyone on edge so many years later. And of course I want to see the ends of Nana because it's been on a hiatus for like nearly 20 years now, I don't know even how much, because I was reading it like as it was happening really. I think I was like on volume 12 or something while it was still being published, so I followed quite a fair bit. And also like my own novels, like I didn't get to pick them up from my mom, so obviously it's nice that because there's certain sort of circulation, I still managed to like get my Spanish copy, and I'll be able to buy them later. It's just that I haven't like sat down and even read this one because I've just been just scattered everywhere, just reading a bunch of research stuff and like things for work. So, but yeah, so on one hand, I'm happy that people watch it, people discuss it, and obviously the representation there isn't perfect. There are flaws in it, and in general, I feel like people can take sort of things that might have not aged that great in certain parts, but that's how they were. That was the representation we had, and it's still a beautiful piece of media, and that's why people watch it. That's why people read it. That's why people watch the movie as well. And I was thinking about it. I think the first thing that I did was watch the movie, and it was given to me by a friend along with the Paradise Kiss anime, which was the first thing that I watched from my Izawa. So I watched Paradise Kiss, then I read Paradise Kiss, and I watched Nana around the same time. Then I read Nana, and only like last year or so I watched the anime because the anime to me looked absolutely fugly. Like after the Paradise Kiss anime, I just feel like Nana is just ugly. And so the anime is good actually, but it just really falls flat to me compared to like Paradise Kiss. And the manga is much better than the anime as well. Like when it comes to Nana, Paradise Kiss equal, but yeah. So yeah, I have my hot opinions on this because again, like Paradise Kiss was my first one, and I just really love Paradise Kiss. But obviously, Nana is factually her magnum opus and one of the best things that you should like ever check out. So yeah, this was pretty much what I want to talk about today. And yeah, I just wish we don't get too much queer erasure these days, because obviously Wikipedia gets edited, and I've talked about it in previous videos, like in Russian spaces and stuff. So yeah, and I wore this wig just because I wanted to do lazy drag, and all lazy drag is valid. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to leave a like, feel free to leave a comment. If you enjoyed Nana as well, if you want to discuss Nana, feel free to discuss it with me. Feel free to subscribe, feel free to make someone angry for me thinking that Paradise Kiss is a lot better than Nana. And yeah, thank you very much for watching.